What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. Today we are doing, as we did on the last video, we're doing a top 5 list, but this is my top 5 shooting guards. Before we get into it, if you guys are new here, you guys like the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on. We are on this channel Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every week. We are slowly starting to close in here on the NBA season. And then obviously as that gets closer, we'll have weekly recaps and we'll have all sorts of additional content as opposed to these off-season videos. But today, like I said, we are doing the shooting guard top 5. And again, especially now that we're done with like the point guard list, a lot of these lists, it's going to be hard to differentiate who's playing what position, right? Especially when we get to like the small forward and power forward list, that'll be the next 2 videos. It's really hard to differentiate who plays what, right? So this is just, in my opinion, when I see them on the court, what position I primarily see them as when they are playing, right? And then as we did the last time, we are going to go 5 to 1. So at number 5, with no bias here, I have Zach LaVine. I think just the scoring potential, the athleticism, playmaking in spurts. I just would love to see maybe a little bit more of it and a little bit more defense out of him. But just the scoring output and how efficient he is when he's on, I think he's a top 5 shooting guard in the league personally. Number 4, I've seen people have this guy a lot higher. I understand that Team USA went really, really well. And typically when Team USA goes well for somebody, they typically end up having an actual leap in the NBA, right? But you have to remember circumstances around this team. A lot of question marks as far as fit, play style, etc. And that is going to be Anthony Edwards. I understand that he had a really, really good World Cup. I enjoyed watching Ant be that primary scorer for that team. But I just think due to the situation in Minnesota, it may hinder him a little bit. And so that's why he is only number 4 on this list. But again, extremely young guy. Definitely could see him higher up in years to come. Number 3 on this list, I have Jaylen Brown. I understand the jokes about the dribbling, but the point being is he's a really good defender, potentially all defensive upside. And then he's also a good spacer, good finisher. And I just think he's an all-around player minus the playmaking, right? But he's still a relatively young player that can be developed. And I just think that when you're the best player on the finals team that was 2 years ago, you're a top 5 shooting guard, right? I just think, especially with this team now that Marcus Smart's gone, I'm curious to see what ball handling responsibilities he gets. And I'm also curious to see who turns into the vocal leader on this team, right? Now that you have Tatum, you have White, you have you have Jaylen Brown. Not really much of a vocal leader right now, right? I'm curious to see if it's him or Tatum that steps into the spot. But I do really think that Brown has a potential to take a leap, maybe even be higher on this list in a year or 2. Number 2 on this list, I have Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell, curious to see what happens with Cleveland this year. I think we had a lot of upside with Cleveland as people initially questioned the 2-guard backcourt, and then they took off through the season, and then they had kind of an underwhelming playoff run, right? So I think that at this point, the scoring's there. We know that, right? The playmaking's there. The finishing is there. It's a question of can the defense hold up? Can this team as a whole hold up? And just how far can Donovan Mitchell carry this team in a playoff setting, right? Regular season, I think they'll be good. They're top 3, maybe 4 seed in the East. I'm just curious about once you hit that playoff spot, what do you do to carry this team with 2 non-shooters on the court, right? Because you got to figure Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are probably on the court most of the time. Not really offensive positives as of right now, right? And the number 1 man on this list out of Phoenix is going to be Devin Booker. I think just the all-around, the ball handling, the scoring, finishing. I'm curious to see how it works now with Bradley Beal there as the point guard. I'm assuming we see a lot more point Booker. Also curious as to who gets the primary guard assignment for them defensively, especially if you're starting Bradley Beal, because Booker's not necessarily an overly positive defender. You're trying to preserve Durant, who can have good defense in spurts. You have whoever that 5th starter is going to be is probably the primary wing defender. And Bradley Beal's not necessarily a great defender either. So I'm curious as to if Booker is asked to maybe reduce the scoring load a little bit, but maybe he shows a little bit more defensively than what we're used to seeing out of him, right? So just to recap it, at 5, I have Zach LaVine. 4 is Anthony Edwards. 3 is Jaylen Brown. 2 is Donovan Mitchell. And 1 is Devin Booker. If you guys have any other players you think should be on this list, let me know in the comments. Or even drop your top 5 down below too. I'd love to see what your guys' opinion is on this. But yeah, that is it for the video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.